Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Ken Smith. I'm the Mayor of the City of Vader. It's my privilege to officially call this regularly scheduled City Council meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and extend a cordial welcome to all within our audience to this first City Council meeting of 2016. And I would consider it a rather historic City Council meeting because we have a full council with newly elected representatives. Whom we extend a cordial welcome and congratulations for your successful campaigns and your interest in representing the residents of this fine community. So with that, we'll begin this council meeting with a roll call. Invite our city clerk, Jill Nielsen, to provide that for us.
Okay, Mayor Ken Smith.
Present.
Councilor Andy Wilson.
Present.
Councilor Mark Fennison.
Present.
Councilor Joe Shy.
Present.
Councilor Judy Costello.
Present.
And Councilor Ruth Creer.
Present.
Well, you will likely note that in 2015 we initiated our invocation for our City Council meeting, but in the spirit of the Council input, I thought it would be appropriate to allow the Council to conduct a discussion as to whether or not we want to continue with that right. So we won't engage in that conversation at this moment, but it would be something for Council members to take under advisement and consideration in perhaps our next Council meeting. So, dispensing with that, we'll proceed with our Pledge of Allegiance, and we invite all present to please rise. And Mr. Fennison, would you like to lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
We'll proceed with the first item on our agenda, which is the Mayor's report. I'd like to inform the members of the Council and the public as well that Tim Eltsey, the Lewis County Public Works Director, who oversees our drinking water system, is scheduling a water meeting with kind of an update, a report, and a prognosis of our system, which he would like to conduct here on January 19th at 6 p.m. and invite all interested in that topic to attend. So if you weren't aware of it, I'd invite you to mark your calendars and come listen to that report. It was also brought to my attention that there is a Southwest Washington Economic Development meeting which will take place on Thursday, February 4th at 11:30 a.m. at Parker's Steakhouse in Castle Rock. And we have had representation at that regular meeting. And it was attended as a representative of our community by Council Member Kevin Flynn. So we would like to invite a member of the Council, if any one of you might be interested in representing the community at that event, to talk to Jill and myself about it. And we would have the informational flyer available to you. This organization kind of makes decisions regarding the environmental, commercial, or growth decisions relating to our Southwest Lewis County, Cowlitz County area. Any questions about that? Okay. And feel free to let Jill or myself know any interest on your part. Now, I'd like to return to the topic of the invocation. That was the recommendation supported by the council in 2015. But I think it would be incumbent upon the new council, the current and newly elected officials, to provide your individual input on that. So, unless there's an opinion to the contrary, I would put that on our next council meeting agenda for your discussion. Would there anybody be opposed to that? All right. Then, having discussed that, the last topic that I'd like to bring to your attention is this is the first time, I believe, that Judy Costello has actually been seated on the Vader City Council, and I thought it would be appropriate just to make as a matter of public record our sincere welcome to this newly elected official position. You were sworn in at the end of December here at City Hall, but and this is the first time that Ruth Creer has actually attended a council meeting. But on behalf of the mayor and our city administration, we welcome you both to your seats in this distinguished body. So, and I'd like to lead the group in a round of applause. Welcome. Do we want a
speech? Can I go sit by Peggy and then I'll...
No, that would be out of order. Well, all right. And with that, let's now proceed with our first official action on the part of the council, which is to approve the agenda as it's written. Now's your opportunity to do that and to make any modifications if you're so inclined. Await council action.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, you've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Shy to approve the agenda as written. Do we have a second? Seconded by Mr. Wilson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay. Proceed then. Now with the approval of the minutes from the City Council meeting of December 12th, 2015.
I make a motion we approve the minutes of the City Council meeting of 12/10/2015.
Okay. Motion submitted to council by Mr. Wilson to approve those minutes as written. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Creer.
I'm sorry. I see that I neglected to put on there there were two sets of council meeting minutes. There's actually something for the 3rd and the 10th, and I forgot to put the 3rd on the agenda.
Okay.
I'm wondering if
Well, I tell you what, since we've got a motion and a second, let's proceed with the 10th, and then we'll go back to the last. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Now, perhaps we want to repeat the process, but have you had a chance to read those minutes?
They're in their packet.
Okay.
It's just I forgot to put it on the agenda.
Could we have council action on those minutes?
Make a motion to approve the minutes for December 3rd, 2015.
Okay. Mr. Shy submitted a motion to approve those minutes, as noted. A second? Seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. Now, voucher approvals. Noted that you've got a slip in front of you. Approvals for the end of December and the first half of January.
I make a motion that we approve the voucher for the end of December 2015 for $15,379.29. December 2015 total of $78,444.62. First half of January 2016 at $14,108.51.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dennison. He's presented a motion to approve the voucher expenditures in the amounts noted. Do we have a second?
I second.
Seconded by Mr. Wilson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion's carried. This time, if we weren't able to insert, well, maybe we did. Were you able to get the park board report? Okay.
He's here to
Yes,
give it, but
We spoke with Mr. Cron, who's the chairman of our park board, and invited him to give one of the regular reports that they generally give to the council. So, Mr. Cron, if you don't mind, approach the podium and share with council the report.
Well, this is going to be kind of a wrap of our plans for this coming year. And recently, in the last couple of months, we've acquired 4 new members for the park board, 1 being a secretary and 3 as park board members.
So the park board is fully staffed?
So we're 5, yes. We're staffed right now with 5. And some of our projects here are going to be, again, water and power at McMurphy Park. Hopefully that'll happen this year. We're in a little better situation than we were in the past. And also we've installed, back in November, we installed some barbecue stands for the grills that we have. And we're going to put a slab in the ground in order to put a table on it, which would be about 6 by 10 or 12. That way, they won't. The problem I have right now, I fear that they're going to steal the grills. Although they're in concrete, but anybody who wants them could dig them up. So if we case them in a big chunk of concrete, I don't think they'll be moved. And the Boy Scouts from Toledo are working on, they helped plant the posts for the grills, and they're also in a project of going to paint the picnic tables there when the weather resumes to condition they can paint those in. And we've got 4 of them down, 4 of the grills down there. There's 2 on the south side of the park by the river. There's 1 to the northwest side of the river, and there's also 1 up by the walnut tree right now. And if we go to Warden Park, we discussed last year, which we didn't get to, is installing a fence on the north end of the park there on Warren's property there to separate that. And I'm getting, probably not this year, but next year, maybe we'll have the funds to go ahead and put a cyclone fence or something across the back on the west side of the park. We've had some complaints, the kids with the basketballs is going down over the hill, and that might stop that from happening. And we're kind of looking into fixing the jail. It needs some major repairs, and it's been inspected by an insurance inspector for the city, and they deemed it not safe. So we'll be working on a foundation and possibly the roof, depending on if we get grant money for that. And we want to do something with some playground equipment. We don't have the funds right now, but maybe during the year we can acquire some funds for that, maybe some grant money. And I was going to say something to Hallie, but she's not here tonight. She's been doing a lot of work there at the park with the flowers and stuff, really keeping them up real nice, so we talked earlier about that. I think that's it for right now. Any questions from anybody? Yes, Jean?
Yes, Steve. What's your plans for the new addition to the Weirden Park property?
Well, our plan was that money provided, they were going to get some playground equipment, but the price of the property and the inspections and the work that was done on that has devoured that $3,000 up, so that'll be project for next year, and maybe this year if we can get maybe some donations or something. We're looking at a process now of finding some playground equipment for the little kids. I mean, we've got the swing, but they have the swing sets, and they've got the slides and the different little forts on them and stuff like that, so that's what we're looking at now, and maybe we'll get that this year too, if the price is reasonable. Any other questions?
Well, would the council care to entertain a question from a member of the public?
Backstop?
Well, excuse me, we've got to get the council concurrence.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, right. Okay.
What was that, Bob?
The backstop, the ball field and
Oh,
Murphy.
well, yeah, that's gotta be, I forgot that, but we'll try and get that going again this year. We had planned it kind of for, last year, but we didn't have a turnout big enough to help us with that project. But if we plan it right this year, and it won't have to be coordinated with the service day either.
Other questions from the public?
I got a question. Why does it cost $3,000 to permit about the park, or Burden Park there? And the state writes their own permit, and they charge themselves $3,000?
Yeah. Well, perhaps I can answer that. It sounds like a city administration issue. I think there may be some confusion. The city is not charged $3,000 per permit. It had to do with the state mandated inspections of a property that's purchased by a public entity. And we engaged in those, and the costs associated with those are primarily where that money went, and it was unexpected. So we were just fortunate that we had sufficient funds to consummate that acquisition. So we own the land now. Now it's our privilege to put what we can afford on it. So if you think that the city charged those fees, you're mistaken, and I'd love to talk to you about that. You could easily verify that with our city clerk as well. Does that help a little bit?
Yeah, well...
Okay. Then let's move on. Thank you for that report. And just for the edification of the new council members, when the park board gives a report, when they have their meetings, they'll come up with ideas which they'll submit to the council in the form of recommendations. And so they won't proceed with projects unless they've gotten council approval, just so that you're aware of it.
When are the park board meetings?
With the 3 new members, they're still formulating a date. Do you have?
Well, we're hopefully this coming Monday, it's going to have to be in the evening.
It's a holiday.
We'll see, we'll work around that.
Yeah, they're checking schedules. I know we had a meeting with Steve the other day. It's tricky, but they'll find a way. And they're going to formalize it so that it'll be incorporated as part of the ordinance so that you'll know when they're regularly scheduled. And of course, you're aware that they need to be advertised, that they are open public meetings. And members of the public are certainly welcome to attend those. And we post notices on the board to the post office and at City Hall.
Are council members still okay to go to those meetings?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as you don't have a quorum, and even if you do, as long as you don't discuss decision-making and express collective opinions on this, you certainly can. Okay, then with that, let's proceed with public comment. The next agenda item.
We have 5 people
I've
signed up.
been
I'm sorry.
asked several times, do we still have that box scraper?
Yes.
We do.
They was wondering about 2 or 3 different people that live in the alleys, wondering about
Right.
if we can get the public employees to go down with the box scraper and take care of some of the potholes that,
Yeah, John has been doing that. We just got a pretty healthy list, right? And he's just working his way through.
I wonder where he's been doing that, because I drive to town every day about 3 times.
I know that he's done the alley on G Street, and then he did the alley on the other side of the park. So, yeah, Joe.
Just come in to City Hall and let us know, and we'll make sure he addresses it.
Yeah, one thing I obviously remind everybody that your input to the council members is valuable, but we have a project list that our Public Works employee follows, and it's really helpful to let us know if there's a need. So, yeah, he's good, but he's not a mind reader, so he just needs to...
Do your work, I mean, I don't, not take that away from you.
Oh, heavens, yeah. All right, so with that, we have 5 people.
Yes.
Okay. Then let's proceed with 5. Now, I don't know, so who are they?
Linda Smith, Mike Parsons, Phil Chanteau, Charlie Sanford, and Christina Sanford.
Okay. If we had 3 or more talking on the same subject, then I'd invite the council to consider whether or not you want to select one person to
There are
represent 3.
4 people that are wanting to discuss the rental property things.
Well,
Who sent all this?
hopefully you've noted that that topic is a council discussion item number 4.
I put that on there. I didn't know if you can wait till then and...
Yeah, absolutely. It may be more appropriate, be more focused. Is there somebody who would want to make their public statement on that topic now? Okay. Then, is there somebody who had a public statement on a different topic?
Yes,
Ah, okay. Who was that?
that was Linda Smith.
Oh, okay.
Say who you are.
Okay, I'm Linda Smith. I'd like to find out who is responsible for 506. Last week, I crossed 506 by the post office, and there was a car coming that I didn't even see coming up the hill. That out of you know what. Didn't see me, I'm sure. Before I even crossed the road, he was probably 5 feet from me. Is there any way you can get a sign up there saying that there's a crosswalk there for people, crossing? Who's responsible to do things like that? Is it the city? Is it the state? Who is it?
Councilmember, care to respond to that? Although, this is more for public edification here. It's not necessarily... Mr. Shine, would you like to answer?
Probably, I don't know for sure who would, if we wanted to, I suppose if the state owns the highway, but if we wanted, I don't think we'd have the rights to put signs on the roadway, but on either side is ours, so we could put signs or maybe one of those flashing things that you could hit and then you'd start flashing when you cross the highway.
One time when I was mayor, just went to the Department of State Transportation and asked them if they would take and redo the crosswalks, and there was no problem at that time. So I think it'd be very simple to give them a call and suggest that the crosswalks need to be repainted in the city because we're having complaints from the citizens.
Well, redoing the sign, the lines would be okay, but there should be some sign down the street, especially up the hill.
There aren't signs there?
There's nothing,
Nothing there?
nothing.
That's interesting.
And there should be one going each way,
Okay.
even though you can see.
You have a comment? Yes.
Just as a point of clarification, you can, if it's inside city limits, you have the right to do modifications. Usually you'll coordinate with Southwest Region Headquarters out in Vancouver, just to get their clearance. You should be able to put it on there.
Good to know. All righty. Well, thank you very much for that. Duly noted. I'd have to add, since we have a representative in our law enforcement, the Lewis County Sheriff's deputy with us, if a resident were to observe something like that, and they got their driver's license plate, would there be a remedy for that sort of activity?
We could speak with them about the issue. We couldn't cite them because speeding, it has to be done in law enforcement's presence. So if you called up and said, hey, someone was speeding, we couldn't just write a citation off of someone saying someone was speeding. We have to witness it. It's one of the things we have to witness. But we certainly could contact them and talk to them about the issue.
There's a lot of kids going across there too.
Well, but it's a thought. I mean, if you do see that, get their license plate and definitely call City Hall.
No.
We could,
Don't call City Hall, call the Sheriff's Department.
that's
The non-emergency.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what we'll tell them, is to call the non-emergency number, sorry.
That's okay.
Don't call us.
I'm very quick to
No fun.
volunteer at City Hall.
What about one of those signs that has a push button on it, it's got a little solar panel on it, and you just, when the person walks up to the sign, they hit it, and then there's little yellow flashing lights,
Yeah.
and it's on for 60 seconds while someone crosses. If you put one, there's standalone, you put one on both sides of the highway, whenever someone crosses, you can just hit it.
I'm like Linda, I cross that daily, sometimes 3 times a day, and it is a traffic.
Well, this is not the first time we've heard reports like that. So maybe it's time for the council to discuss that potential solution.
I can look into a source for those signs and see what's out there.
Okay. Should we put it on a future city council agenda?
Yes.
Okay. Duly noted. Thank you. My job is to moderate this meeting, and it is a city council meeting, and I'm sensitive, obviously, to our desire to hear from the public on every topic. But in the interest of time, I hope the council is sensitive. If we have the hand raised, our instinctive reaction is to hear what they have to say. Would you like to hear another comment?
The large, some cities have the first sign, speed limit sign is a little larger than the normal, and that usually catches your eye when you're going into town if you were not paying attention. That's something also that would be an easy fix, just put one of those larger speed limit signs.
Okay.
Thanks.
Excellent. Well, with that, then let's proceed. If there are no other individuals in the public, let's proceed with item number 1. Council is to consider resolution 01-2016. This is the law enforcement contract between the City of Vader and the Lewis County Sheriff's Department.
I would make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that we adopt resolution number 1-2016, memorandum of understanding for law enforcement service with the Lewis County Sheriff's Office.
Okay. Did you want to continue?
I can continue down here.
Yes, please, yes.
I move to approve resolution 01-2016, authorizing the mayor to execute the memorandum of understanding with the Lewis County Sheriff's Office for $72,000, which includes 20 hours of law enforcement coverage per week as stated substantially in the memorandum of understanding attached to the resolution.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that decisive action and motion. You've heard him submit a motion to approve this resolution as read. Do we have a second for that motion?
Second it.
Seconded by Mrs. Craig. Now, after a second is when council can add their insights, comments, objections, and so forth. Do we have any commentary from council members relating to this resolution? Hearing none, then it's our prerogative to put it to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say aye. Okay, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. And I can tell you, I spoke today with Sheriff Snaza, the Lewis County Sheriff, who oversees our coverage. He will be very pleased, and I'm pleased to express our appreciation to them for their outstanding service in this community. Now, related to that agenda item is number 2. Council is to consider Resolution 02-2016, the jail services contract, which is obviously associated with the resolution you just approved. So, we'll await council action on that.
In the agenda, Bill, I noted that we were waiting for a response from the Sheriff's Department on the number of bed days. Since I'll briefly explain, there's 2 ways to pay for jail time that someone serves. It's either you pay the daily rate, which is $66 a day, or if a city chooses, they can take their 3-year usage average, whatever that average amount of days are, and you can pay for that at a flat rate, and you get like $5.50 off the daily rate for each one. So for us, our average came out to be between 50 and 52 bed days. There was some back and forth about whether it was 50 or 52, but we had one year that was we had a lot one year, so it made our average go way up. And so I sent in a request to see if we could pay for less, since our normal bed days for the year is between 25 and 30. And the Sheriff's Department responded and let us know that unfortunately they couldn't do that because that would set a precedent, and all the cities have to follow the same rule, and if they were doing something different for us, they'd have to be willing to do something different for other people, and other people have already signed. And so anyways, the answer was no. So basically what we have, and he gave me the totals here, is the city, if we choose to go with the contract, we could do a flat rate of 50 bed days where they would be $60.38 a night, and it would come to $3,019 for the year. And if we don't use all the bed days, we lose the money. If we do use all the bed days, then they will charge us any additional bed days on an individual rate. The other option is to just pay for the bed days as they come, and if we do end up with an average of if we do end up with 25 bed days for the year, that cost at $66.41 a night would come to $1,660.25. So you can choose which way you want to go on the contract, whether you want to do the daily or the flat rate.
It was 1,000 what?
$660.25 if we had 25 bed days for the year.
Well, to prepay for nearly double the amount of bed days than what our usual averages seems a little ridiculous. So like the flat rate's a better deal.
I agree with Joe. I think the $66.41 per bed used is better deal than the
Daily rate.
50, the daily rate rather than the flat rate.
Other comments and observations from the council?
Well, maybe on that, the flat rate, for 50 bed days, we get charged that, period,
Yes,
$3,000.
yes.
We're averaging, though, you're saying 25.
Except for 1 year.
1 year.
1 year, we had 85 bed days.
At 85.
Yeah, we had one person who sat in jail for a really long time. And it's possible that could happen again this year, but we don't have a crystal ball, so we don't know for sure. Normally, the average is between 25 and 30. one year, we did have a really high number, and so that's why our average jumped way up to 50. So, that 1 year has kind of skewed the norm, but, so you could pay for the 50.
So it goes back to with a flat rate, if we go over 50 days, then we're going to pay the daily rate anyway.
For any additional days.
Yeah, for any additional.
Right, so when you get to 51,
I think the daily rate's better.
yeah. As long as we don't go over 50, then yeah, the daily rate's better. Yeah.
I should add for the council's edification, I spoke today with Sheriff Snaza and told him that the council would be deliberating these options. And he's very sensitive to the costs imposed upon the city for this event. And he gave me his assurances that if we did have a situation in which we had an unexpected spike in the daily use rate, that he'd be willing to meet with city officials and talk to you to see if there might be something to ameliorate that unfortunate, unexpected activity. So you can interpret that to mean that there is one plan that he would suggest for your consideration, and that's the daily rate.
Am I not seeing something here? I mean...
No?
No. It's just every city has the option of going one way or the other. These contracts come up every 2 years, and the last time that this contract came up, there was some discrepancies, and we were working with the county trying to figure out what happened with the bed days and why we were paying this. Anyways, there was some confusion, and so at that time, they gave us the flat rate, but they gave us a break of the guaranteed 50 days. They actually gave us a lower number that one time. And so this time, when it came up again and our average was still in the 50s, I asked them again, is there any way we can lower that guaranteed rate and do it at 25 or 30 instead of 50? And they came back and they said, I'm sorry, they can't do it again. So that was really the only decision that council has to make is, I'm assuming you want to go with the county's jail services since we don't have another option on the board, so, on the table. So, your only decision really is, do we want to do the daily rate or do we want to do the guaranteed flat rate? And so you have the information now and all the numbers, so now you just get to decide. So, no, you're not missing anything.
As I was looking at it there, the flat rate for 50 days would be cheaper than, of course, if we went 50 days with the same. But since we're not, and we haven't averaged that, we're averaging below. It seems like that daily rate would be a better way to go.
Any observations from the two remaining council members? Well, then would someone be courageous enough to submit a motion, make a choice, and see how it flies?
I move to approve Resolution 022016, authorizing the mayor to execute the interlocal agreement for jail services with Lewis County using the daily rate option.
Okay. Heard Mr. Flynn submit the motion.
Flynn?
What did I say? Holy.
Oh.
For the record. Sorry. Mr. Shai.
I second Mr. Shai's motion.
Okay. We do have a second. Mrs. Costello. Now's your last chance to throw out some observation to the contrary. Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you for that. I was hoping that that's the one you would gravitate towards, and I'm very pleased to support that decision. So, now we'll go with item number 3. The council is to consider the Nortec pay request number 3 for $5,016.64 in change order number 1. This is, as you may be aware, is a pretty pro forma step in the contractor's efforts to get the money for their contract that's been completed. So would await council action on that.
I make a motion to move to approve the Nortec pay request number 3 in the amount of $5,016.64 and direct the clerk treasurer to disperse the funds immediately. Also move to approve change order number 1 of the Nortec contract, reduce the total by $8,203.42.
Thank you, Mr. Fennison, for that motion, which you've heard and as read. Do we have a second for that motion?
I will second the motion.
Seconded by Mrs. Costello. Any additional commentary? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, excellent. Now, we'll proceed with item number 4. It's council discussion about rental property regulations. I know for Mrs. Prater, you were here at our last council meeting, at which time that was the topic of considerable discussion. And Mrs. Costello, since you're new, this is an ongoing topic, and we will. We said that we would table it, and then reschedule it for this council meeting. So now it's open for council consideration.
I would like to excuse myself from this particular topic. I have been opposed to it for the last 8 months and have been in the audience. So I will exclude myself. I think that would be the proper thing to do.
For the reason that you have been seated in the audience?
No, for the reason that it involves me personally. I have rental properties.
Duly noted. I think that would be a wise course of action. So we'll capture that in the public record. Yes, Mr. Wilson.
I've made my point several times about it. I don't have any rental properties, but I believe that something like this is running people out of town, and I want to see the city grow, not run people out of town by the renter having to charge the people more rent, and a lot of other things that I've heard come up here in the council. For me, I think the issue should be dropped, period, and forget about property rentals.
Okay.
That's my opinion.
Yes, good. Do we want to go this way and then come back around, skip this, share your opinions?
I stated once at the last meeting, I think it's an overstep for the board, and I feel that the people that own their houses should have a say in what happens to them, and I'm not for this.
Well, the state has regulations that are in place to protect renters. I know we have a lot of people speaking on behalf of those who are renting. I haven't heard any renters, whether, and all I've heard is rooms. I don't know what we're even talking about as far as what action we would take, because I don't think anything's been stated. What kind of action was the council thinking about taking? What considerations? I know there's some things we can't do, but what can we do? I feel for the little guy. The person who's doing the renting, if they're being treated unfairly, and it's known, it's sort of hard for them to, move out. Well, it costs a lot to move out and find another place. So I consider the little guy involved. We've had nobody speaking up for them at all. But on the other side, what action are we even considering? Now, I haven't heard anything, except we're gonna discuss it. But I've heard nothing discussed.
I think tonight is going to be a watershed meeting to see if you wanted to discuss a potential ordinance that Ron Kemp, our city engineer, said that he could provide for your consideration. But if the council's inclination is to not pursue that discussion, then there is none. It has been formally presented to the council, unless I missed something.
So we really don't know.
Mr. Shy?
If our city inspector has something that he'd like to show us, it'd be great to see it, but
Yeah.
we've got a lot of other things the city's working on right now, and I'd be okay with tabling rental property regulations for a much later time. But it would be neat to see what Ron had to offer. If he has something ready made already, I wouldn't want to put too much time into it.
Do you want to provide?
The information that you've received in the past, which are examples from other
Right.
cities, that is what our building official, Ron Kemp, has offered as information. He has not said that, to me, that he's for or against it. He just knew there was interest, and someone had asked him, you know, what's your information? And he has helped a community do that, and so he provided some examples. And he also directed us towards there was another state document about rental regulations, I think, or something to that effect, that you were all provided at that time. So that's the information that he's provided. I don't know if...
Maybe there isn't something...
I don't think there's something additional that he has. I'd be happy to check with him if you would like, but that's what he offered to council before. He's offered to come and speak to council if you would like him to, and give you his experience in working with the code enforcement of this type of regulation. Of course, we haven't invited him to do that because there's a cost. We have to pay him for his time, and so council would need to want that and approve that before we invited him, but that's what I understand from Ron Kemp.
Okay, does that help? I, for one, would kind of echo Mr. Shy's observations that the city has a lot on its plate, and I would be one who would be inclined to try to fix some of the pre-existing problems rather than engage in this new, rather inflammatory enterprise. If that helps you understand where I'm coming from. But we do have an individual who's patiently waited and would like to share his comments. Would you want to hear?
Sure.
Feel free.
Mr. Flynn stated
Go ahead. Wait, no, that's not necessary. This isn't public comment.
Oh.
Just state your name.
Christina.
Sorry.
Mr. Flynn stated last time some particular areas that needed fixed up due to the whole thing. Well, I did some research on that, and those are county-owned. Those are not private landlord-owned. They're county. So you need to look at the county on that one. And the rest of them are all bank repos. They're all foreclosures. So we have nothing to do with that.
Good to know. Okay. More comments? Or does council want to take action on this that might preclude such conversation? Okay.
Mark here mentioned that he hadn't heard from landlords, basically. I'm a landlord. I own a piece of property up here, and I have a very good tenant. It's very nice property, very well kept. There are plenty of state laws that limit my ability to do anything on my property. If I wish to do anything on my property, I have to notify 24 hours ahead. I have to inform them, and then I have to make compliance if I put them at a disadvantage because of it. Generally speaking, when someone puts in an ordinance, you have to have a person enforce that ordinance, which you're going to have to pay for. Then you have all this other legal stuff that mounts up behind it. So I'm with the council. It's a can of worms that the state has pretty much taken care of very well. And I see no reason why you should open that can of worms, because you're not going to like the end results of it. anything that you charge is a tax. If I have to go into a fee in any form, it's a tax. And as a tax, it can be used to damage my ability to rent that property, which means I have to pass that tax to my tenant, which tend to be the poorer people, the people who are trying to struggle up. We don't need to step on their fingers while they're clawing out of the hole, okay? You really don't. The folks that are currently in the property up here will likely buy that piece of property. I want to make sure that they want to stay in this town. You have enough trouble here keeping people here and not having people insure their property to the hilt and burn it down and leave. You don't need that here. We need to build this town. And thank you very much. It is a hard job what you're doing, and usually it's a thankless job. I just want to thank you for it.
Thank you for
My
that
name's
very
Philip
honest.
Chantel, in case you need to know.
Thank you, Phil. Appreciate it. Well, okay, insightful and civil and respectful input. For the council, in the interest of time, you care to make a decision or a motion with regard to this topic?
There's one other article that was in the newspaper today or yesterday about our Congressman Butler, that she wants to change the laws of the Department of Ecology because they won't even start charging anybody that's got a swimming pool and stuff like this. Well, this is what we're trying to do. I don't believe in it. I want to keep people here. I don't want to say, well, we've got to charge you to do this and then run them out of town. Period. That's the way I feel about it, and I'm getting upset about it.
Good. Well, would you
I've
like
been
to-
here in this city for 50-some years, and I've seen this city grow, and I've seen this city go down the hill this way.
Would you like to make a motion on this agenda?
I will make a motion, Your Honor. I make a motion that we forget all about the rental property regulations of this city council for the 2 years. That's how much time I got.
All right.
And that'll be 36 years sitting here as mayor and city council.
A legacy. You've heard the motion submitted by Mr. Wilson to discontinue this discussion regarding rental properties for the next 2 years.
I'll second.
So, do we have a second? We do. And Mr. Fairley seconded that motion. Any additional concerns, observations? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? Okay, excellent. Very good, and thank you for the widened input you provided. All right, now item 5, council to consider expenditure for income survey results. Just as a preamble to this, if you aren't aware, this relates to a finding that was recently provided to us by, I believe it was HUD, indicating the city of Vader exceeds the low-income threshold, and that we are considered an affluent community, and which is going to impact our ability to get CDBG funding. And so we've been working actually very closely with Jamie Herrera Butler representatives, and we've reached the unfortunate conclusion that there's not going to be any assistance from the federal agencies to remove us from that category. And so we're in a pretty grim position where we're going to have to do something about it ourselves. And there is a solution that lies before us. And perhaps I would invite the city clerk, John Swamp, to share just what the latest option is.
Well, I've tried to explain it all in the agenda, Bill, but I'll quickly try to recap that the county, as part of their water system and looking for funding, they did a survey, an income survey of the people in the water system, so that included people in the city and some people that were a little bit outside of the city limits. And we have found and gotten approval that the information from that income survey would be considered sufficient to provide to HUD or whatever as a rebuttal to their survey that they did, and that if approved or or whatever, then we would be back on the list for funding. And so we've checked with the county, since they're the ones that paid for the study, and then we've also checked with the gentleman who did the study to make sure that it's even feasible, and both have agreed and have said that yes, it is feasible. It would cost between $1,000 to $1,500 for him to select just the Vader citizens in the city limits, which is what we would need to do, and to compile that information. So if we had to do our own survey, it would cost many, many thousands of dollars to do a new survey. So this is really a good opportunity, I think, for us to get that back.
I'd have to expand it just with a couple of sentences. When you say it'll cost several thousand, maybe you aren't aware of just how complex these surveys are. It's not like you can just go take a random handful and declare it. There have to be specialized questions that are appropriate and applicable, and you're not going to get cooperation from people, and so it turns into a real scientific, difficult process to complete and meet the governmental parameters. So I would strongly encourage you to embrace this while they're offering. So that's my perspective.
I had a comment about it. The study was done in 2006 to 2010, which was a 5-year span. It looks to me like it's been 5 years, and there should be time for another study. I mean, is that a question anybody else had when they read this? And then I guess the next question I had was, Chehalis, Ocean Shores, Toledo, Napavine, and Leavenworth all seem to be right with us at that 32%. So what are they going to do about this issue?
They have the same problem.
Yeah, TL does too.
Well, I know this a whole group of people.
Which is why Jamie Herrera Butler's office was getting involved, because so many small cities and so many cities that weren't really affluent, as it's saying in the study, have been negatively affected. That's why they were getting involved in trying to help these cities, try to figure out a way to help people get back on that list, because they feel that these results are not accurate. HUD is a federal agency that, the Housing and Urban Development, and I don't know of any way we could go up against HUD and say, your survey's too old, take us off the list. I think that would be a pretty big challenge. Probably cost more than $1,500.
Well, I also question if we spend the $1,500 and then we're still on the bottom of the list.
Bottom of the list. So we'd be removed from the affluent community, so we wouldn't be competing against anybody.
It would be a guarantee for $1,000 to $1,500 that we would be removed from this list, this HUD list.
Well, we can't guarantee it. We'd hope the outcome of that pre-existing survey
would prove that.
It's a gamble. It's
See, I'm thinking it's a gamble, Joe.
Well, it is. It's a $1,500 gamble, so that we might be able to get
$1 million.
hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants in the future.
I totally understand that.
It's a very small amount of money for what it could really mean to the city.
Actually, it's a bigger gamble not to do it, because if we don't put the $1,500, we're not in a position for all those funds.
Yeah, and we are going to be, if we're going to fix our waste treatment plant, which we have to do, this is a pretty important decision.
One more quick note. It's my understanding that the counties, when they had all the city and the urban growth area included in the survey, that they met the lower income requirements as a whole. We're anticipating that removing the Enchanted Valley area and the other urban growth areas, that we will have similar results. And so, there, again, nothing's guaranteed as far as what the result will come to, but we do know that their results of all the area combined did provide what they needed for this.
Thank you for adding that. That's important, because it's a risk, it's a gamble, but it's an educated risk. And you might ask, well, where are we going to get this $1,600?
I know.
So, fortunately, our budget has got things built in. I think we're supposed to share that.
Well, on the back of your agenda, Bill, there's a couple of places that I've looked at that I've that made suggestions as to where those funds could come from, that shouldn't make huge impacts on any of them. $600 from the planning and development line item that we used to pay our planner with. Also, road and street maintenance, $300 from that $15,000 line item, and then the sewer capital reserve is set as $30,000 going into the reserve for this year, but I'm suggesting $600 out of that. So all that together comes to $1,500. So that's just options that we could do.
Does this funding that we're talking about, does it cover roads? I mean, the chances in getting a loan from any of these people, or is this just pretty much sewer, water, utility kind of thing? Okay.
Storm drain, yeah.
Well, I think it should all come out of the sewer capital reserve then and leave that street alone. A suggestion.
Are we okay with moving the 300 to the sewer reserve? Would that still be within the limits, Joe? That wouldn't, if we move the so this 300 from the streets, move it to the sewer? It's not gonna...
Right, you just take 900 out of the capital reserve instead.
That wouldn't damage...
That doesn't cause any...
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of, so...
Sure. Good gamble, better than Powerball.
All right.
We're rolling the dice tonight, Joe, come on.
I move to approve the expenditure of $1,500 for a Vader household income survey analysis and direct the clerk treasurer to affect the budget line items as stated above.
Okay, you've heard a motion stated by Mr. Peniston to approve this agenda item as noted. But did that engage the modifications?
No.
So do we have
I'll
a...
include the modification, the change.
Okay. Excellent. So the motion maker can modify the motion, which you did there.
I just did.
But echo the modifications that we probably better state them for the motion. So what were they again?
So that would be $600 coming out of the planning and development line item,
Okay.
and $900 coming out of sewer capital reserve.
Okay. With those modifications as noted for the public record. All right. Do we have a second for that modified motion?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Shaw. Any other observations, concerns? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed?
Sorry, who seconded that? I didn't get the second. Joe did. Okay.
Well, excellent. Okay, and we'll press forward with that. With urgency. Last agenda item is a brief council discussion regarding the now vacant position of Mayor Pro Tem. As you're aware, we're city councils, and knowing that on occasion the mayor is absent and or is out of town, it's customary to identify an individual who, with normally considerable tenure and experience on the council, being identified and invited to serve as Mayor Pro Tem. And so I'd invite, the mayor generally would identify the individual and then bring it up for council consideration. And so unless there's some concerns or comments contrary, I would I'd like to engage in that action at our next city council meeting. So bring that to your attention. So with that, Any questions, concerns? Okay. If not, then we'll proceed to that end at our next council meeting. With that, I believe we've exhausted all the agenda items, so I will officially declare this council meeting adjourned at 7:07 p.m. Thank you all for being here.